What is up, Packers fans? Happy game day. Welcome into our live pregame show. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. You can find the podcast at Pack a Day Podcast. Thanks so much for joining me today for this. Not a great slate of NFL games so far. Really only a Jets-Bengals game that was even remotely competitive. The 3 o'clock slate was pretty brutal. A bit of a side note of this game now. The AFC is 6-0 against the NFC so far this week. Tomorrow, you've got the Chiefs and the Commanders. Chiefs are heavy favorites, could be 7-0, and that leaves Packers Steelers. Could the Packers be the only NFC team to beat an AFC team this week, or will the AFC potentially go 8-0? Like I said, a little bit of a side story on this one that really doesn't need any more side stories. It has plenty of that already. We did just get the inactives about half an hour ago, a little less than a half an hour ago for today's game. Lots of good news for Green Bay in this one. Brandon McManus, Devontae Wyatt, Christian Watson, Matthew Golden are all active for this game. We pretty much knew, as we talked about in the pregame show today, that Watson and Golden would be active based on no call-ups at wide receiver yesterday. Kicker, we did not know whether it would be McManus or Haversick, so McManus it is. This is just another indicator clearly that Brandon McManus is the clear and obvious kicker one in Green Bay. Not that anyone should be surprised by that, but I know some people have been calling just for Haversick to keep it. That's not going to be the case. McManus keeps it and is the number one kicker today. And then Devontae Wyatt, the big one. That's the one where you couldn't really glean anything based off the call-ups yesterday because you had both Brinson and Wyatt. You knew with no call-up, at least one of them would be active. We found out today it was Wyatt, and it was, in this case, Warren Brinson that was not active. The one surprise I talked about yesterday, we hit everything. We knew Wicks and LVN would be inactive. We knew one of the kickers would be Haversick. We knew one of the defensive tackles would likely be. We talked about Brinson. We knew Donovan Jennings would. I talked about one other offensive lineman. I knew two offensive linemen would, but I kind of figured it would be down to either Darian Kennard or Anthony Belton, and it was actually Jacob Monk who was inactive for this one. So Packers 6 inactives: Dontavian Wicks, Lucas Haversick, Jacob Monk, Donovan Jennings, LVN, and Warren Brinson. And again, McManus, Wyatt, Watson, and Golden all active for today's game. I'll be here for about an hour till about 7:15, about 5 minutes before kickoff. I will be doing a live halftime show over on Luigi's Pizza Twitter account as well. I will be live on video there today, so you can check that out at halftime. Follow them at Luigi's Pizza. And then, of course, post-game, I will be live immediately following the game here on YouTube once again, so you can check out those as well. With that, I'm keeping an eye on the Bucs game as well, not the Tampa Bay Bucs game. We know how that one is. But the Milwaukee Bucks, they're down by 7 right now in Cleveland, down by 8, missing a lot of players too. We're not going to talk about that because it's a Packers show, but I'm going to keep an eye on it nonetheless. All right, Baby QB, thanks for getting in the first question today. Green, and I think you clarified Gruden, says that the Packers are number 1 in the NFL at big plays, is defined at 16 plus yards. Not sure who decided to define big plays at 16 plus, but I'll take it. The Steelers are near last in defending it. Hope J Love goes vertical. Well, with both Matthew Golden and Christian Watson active, you can bet he's going to want to get vertical. I think one of the really interesting early dynamics of this game to watch, if you're kind of keeping an eye on it and taking your eye off the ball, is the Steelers like playing a lot of single high safety. And usually single high safety is what Green Bay wants you to play. Now, it hurts against the run because you usually have an extra player in the box, but Green Bay has no problem throwing against you in single high. And it like Matt LaFleur almost like hinted at, we're going to be interested to see what Pittsburgh wants to do. We'll see if they're playing more too high safety this week against Green Bay for that very reason, Baby QB, or if they are sticking in their single high safety. It's going to be one of those kind of games within the game to keep an eye on. So early on, if you want to take your eye off the ball when the Steelers are on defense and the Packers are on offense, keep an eye on how those safeties are playing against Green Bay and how Green Bay is kind of countering against that, whether they're still running the football or whether they're trying to take some of those shots downfield against a Steelers defensive unit that has struggled giving up a lot of those big plays. Andy, I'd just like to say an $84 million guard, and we can't run behind him. Like I've talked about, Banks has not been anywhere near as bad, especially these past couple weeks. The first game where he was clearly banged up and not healthy wasn't very good, but these last few games, he's been totally fine. Would I like to see him be somebody that you could count on to be able to, just run behind when you need tough yardage? Yes. Would I like to see him be a bit more consistent? Absolutely. But I think the, quote unquote downfall or, just a brutal play of Aaron Banks has been a little bit hyped and it's not entirely true. That said, I still think there's a lot out there for Aaron Banks. I think he can play a lot better. Hopefully today is a great indicator of that, and we see some really good play from their aforementioned $84 million left guard. Would I, at the end of the season, do a grade review of Kenny Clark? I would say it's probably extremely unlikely. Just to be honest, I don't know how much I care to go and grade every single snap for Kenny Clark as a member of the Dallas Cowboys. And if I'm being even more transparent, I'm not sure what the appetite would be for people actually watching that video. But it would be a fun project. I can't see me doing it with insane amount of stuff that we already have to go over in the off season anyway. But never know. But I would say it's probably fairly unlikely. Been meaning to say this all week, but Stackhouse was the reason why the Packers got the ball back late in the fourth on the sneak against the Cardinals. He was definitely a piece. We talked about it on the grade show. His best game of the season so far was this past week. I had a pretty solid grade on him overall. Didn't play a ton in that game, but when he did, he was much more stout against the run and just showed up a lot more on tape. So hopefully that's a sign of things to come from him. Young player, inexperienced, obviously, and just kind of still getting his feet wet as an undrafted free agent. But I thought there were some positive things on tape this past week for Nasir, that being one of them. There's been rumors about A-Chain to the Packers, and I wouldn't be against it, but I feel as if LaFleur already struggles to get everyone involved. It could just be a waste of picks and probably Marshawn Lloyd. Yeah, again, just because a team calls on somebody to see what costs are and things like that doesn't necessarily mean that they're shopping around for that player or anything like that. It sometimes it's just to kind of, again, build your emergency list of like, all right, what happens if Josh Jacobs goes down and we're still before the trade deadline? What players are available and what would it cost to get them? And it just, kind of doing your due diligence as a general manager. I'd be pretty stunned if the trade deadline came around and their acquisition pre-trade deadline was Devin A-Chain at running back. To your point, there's not necessarily a need for that. And I mean, if Marshawn Lloyd's out for the year, we don't know that. We don't think that shouldn't be the case. But if they have a feeling that Lloyd's out for the year and he's not going to come back and they wanted to change a pace speed, back, I could see that. I could really see that. I would probably call Baltimore for Keaton Mitchell because I think you could have him for a lot cheaper than what you're probably going to get A-Chain for. But again, I can understand Green Bay calling around and doing the due diligence. I do not foresee that being a trade that takes place in any way, shape, or form, I should say. I've said it a lot, but it's because I missed like a month of streams. What is your grades on Warren Brinson? Because PFF has an 85 on him. I really like the way that Warren Brinson is playing. I think I have a slight negative. I don't have him graded as highly as PFF does, but I'm a big Brinson guy. I really enjoy how he goes about playing the game. I loved him in preseason. Obviously, again, inactive for today. I just think he hasn't been as consistent against the run, and there's certainly been some plays where he hasn't been able to generate a pass rush either, but there have been plays where he has generated it, which is really, really exciting. And again, I think for a late round pick with minimal snaps so far, what you've seen from him is really, really encouraging, and I'm really excited about him moving forward. A lot has been talked about with Rodgers and Rodgers and Watt this week. How do you think the interior O-line will hold up against Cam Hayward and company? Yeah, I talked about the O-line today on the pregame show. This is a big matchup for them. I think this Steelers defensive line has a variety of different ways to cause problems. Keanu Benton is, I think, a little bit underrated. I know he's not having a great season, but he still has the ability to get after it. But more specifically, Derek Harmon, their first round pick, Cam Hayward, as you mentioned. I've been gassing up Nick Herbig all week long. He's been unbelievable. Watch out for him as a speed rusher. He is so quick off the line of scrimmage and then has a variety of different moves to throw at you. He's just a pain in the ass to go against. So keep an eye out for Nick Herbig. And then that's not even including, of course, TJ Watt as well. So this is a tough matchup for Green Bay with their offensive line. Do I think that you can still get them susceptible to some big run plays? Yes, absolutely. But I want to see this Packers offensive line be a lot more consistent. And this is going to be a heck of a challenge against that Steelers defensive front, which I still think is the best part of their overall defense. Go Pack, go. Appreciate you, David. So dang hyped for this one. Green and cold, me as well. I'm nervous about DK going off. It's a fair nervousness and trepidation to have going into this game. DK is a heck of a player. We talked about as well, Green Bay's corners need to step up big in this one. Don't undersell Calvin Austin coming back. He's been out the past couple weeks as well. He's going to be champing at the bit to really get back and play some good football as well. He's got some real speed and run after the catch ability and can beat you down the field. So this is a huge game for Nate Hobbs, Carrington Valentine, Keyshawn Nixon, and this corner group against especially DK Metcalf. But again, don't sleep on Kelvin Austin either. McManus is playing. So there you go. Good luck, Marina, in your fantasy football league. But yes, he is officially active. Andy, do you think Watson and Golden on the field at the same time will cause teams issues? Yes. How much we see Christian Watson tonight, what version of Christian Watson we get, how much rust he has, how maybe even a little bit banged up Matthew Golden is, that stuff remains to be seen. I don't think we're going to see peak Matthew Golden plus Christian Watson tonight, but I think now that Watson's in the fold for next year as well, through the remainder of this year and going into next year, I personally cannot wait to see Golden and Watson with Reed on the inside at some point. I think that's your most dangerous trio of wide receivers with Josh Jacobs at running back and Tucker Kraft at tight end. But even tonight, you could see a Golden, Dobbs and Watson line up with Tucker Kraft and Josh Jacobs, and that has the ability to be extremely potent as well. So yeah, that speed on the field at the same time, some field stretching ability, I think has the ability to be really, really fun. And I, for one, cannot wait for it. Even tonight, even if we only get it for a handful of snaps, but certainly moving forward as well. Yes, Alex, we definitely talked about it as well. AFC is undefeated this week, 6-0. And, again, you got the Chiefs against the Commanders on Monday Night Football with Chiefs heavy favorites in that one. This might be the only opportunity, likely is the only opportunity for the NFC to get a win this week. I'd be interested in your thoughts. Does that make you feel better or worse? Like knowing that one of the storylines could be the AFC goes undefeated against the NFC this week? Or is it like clearly the AFC is not going to go undefeated against the NFC? The NFC will at least get one of the games. And now we know that the Packers have probably the best chance to do it. I don't know. It clearly doesn't change the fact of who's going to win at all. But I don't know. Those are just weird things that I think about. Caleb Williams looked downright bad today. Bears still suck. Yeah, he had a rough day. The Bears had a rough day. Awesome that Baltimore was able to get that win and knock the Bears down back to life a little bit after a 4-game win streak. Vikings lost earlier in the week, got absolutely demolished by the Chargers. So good start so far. What you don't want is the Detroit Lions to sit home on their bye week and the rest of the NFC North to go 0-3. So Green Bay's got to avoid that and hopefully be the one team in the NFC North that does win this week, with the Bears and the Vikings having losses and the Lions chilling at home on their bye week. Austin, go Pack go. Thanks for being here, my friend. Let's see, a 75-yard bomb to Christian Watson to start the game. It would be pretty iconic if they did do it. And of course, if he did catch it, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to be well aware of when Christian Watson's in the game and what they probably want to accomplish with Christian Watson. But yeah, it would be a sweet play if they could somehow find a way to pull it off. That's for sure. And yes, well said, Austin. It would be absolutely epic. All right, we're going to come back here to the chat in just a moment. I want to get to some of these super chats. Hi, Andy. Is this tonight Golden makes his mark? I would argue Golden's made his mark in a variety of ways so far. That huge 4th down catch against Dallas. He's had the opportunities to get some of those big plays down the field that Jordan's, missed on a couple. And then, even just some of the bigger plays that he has connected on, including that huge 3rd down play just a couple weeks ago against Cincinnati. So I think he's absolutely made his mark already. But if you're talking about a 100-yard, touchdown performance, I could easily see that being the case. I think he and Romeo Dobbs are going to get a ton of playing time in this one with Wicks and Reed out and Watson just coming back. So yeah, he's going to see the field a ton, and hopefully he is able to have a big game. He's certainly due for it. And if you look at his efficiency when thrown to, it's been really, really impressive. I think they have to start targeting him a little bit more because I think the sky is the limit for what he can ultimately bring to this offense. Adam, thank you for the super chat. A Christian Watson touchdown tonight would be sick. I totally agree. It would be sweet. Yeah, again, I would guess he's probably around like 12 to 15 snaps tonight, 20, maybe 25 at the very most. I would think he'll at least get about 12. So I'd say somewhere between 12 and 25 would be the limits, but we'll just have to wait and see. And whatever he can give this team, and if it's certainly a touchdown, that would be awesome as well. Steve, thanks for being here, and thanks for the super chat. Cheers from Chicago Cheeseheads. Have a New Glarus, Oktoberfest, and Luigi's Mighty Meats Pizza on deck. You're the best, Andy. Go Pack Go. That sounds like the perfect night. Actually, my fridge is stocked with New Glarus Oktoberfest as well. So that and their cherry wheat beer are my two go-tos this time of year. So that's what I got stocked in the fridge right now. And of course, gotta love the Luigi's Mighty Meats Pizza as well. Sounds like a perfect game day setup, Steve. Enjoy the game, and of course, go Pack Go. Cheers from Montana, Andy. Let's have a fun one. Adam, I'm right there, not with you in Montana, but with this being a fun game and hopefully the Packers picking up a huge win as well. Thank you to the 433 of you who are here in chat. Appreciate you guys a ton. Again, make sure to check out that halftime show over on Luigi's Pizza Twitter account, and then right here on the post-game show live on YouTube as well. King Kermit, man, this game is going to be so good. It has to be, right? This week has been full of just absolute terrible trash of football games so far. The one good game was Bengals Jets. That was it. That's the only thing we've gotten so far. So you would think that this is going to be an epic one. I don't know if that's a good thing for Packers fans, if it's going to get the heart racing a little bit more than maybe we would want it to. I mean, if the Packers just want to go out and win by 20 and we just make it a week of not great football games, I'm okay with that. But it would seem that we are due for a pretty epic game, and Packers Steelers, Rodgers love has all the makings for it on Sunday Night Football. Big fight feel. This has all the hype in the world. Let's see if the game actually lives up to it or not. I think it very much will. All right. Where did we leave off? All right, W. Brown, with Wyatt coming back, what do you expect his usage to be? It's going to be interesting to see his direct impact in the field. Yeah, I think we probably know that they feel comfortable with him, with the fact that Brinson's inactive and they didn't feel like they needed to call up another defensive tackle. They'll only have 4. It's only going to be, and they have no LVN to kick inside. So it's only going to be Wyatt, Wooden, Brooks, and Nasir Stackhouse. And if they were concerned that Wyatt was on like a 15, 20, snap count in this game, I would have thought for sure they would have brought up, James Esther, an extra defensive tackle to help them in this one. So the fact that they didn't, the fact that they only have 4, and again, no LVN to kick inside, would lead me to believe that Devonte Wyatt is good to go, and he's going to have a good helping of snaps, probably 30, 40, maybe even a little bit more in this game. And the bigger question then is just what type of impact that he can make. The hope is that he can make a huge impact. I've talked about it this week. It's one thing when you've got Rashawn Gary and Micah Parsons screaming off the edge and causing a ton of havoc. But if you don't have that guy inside that's doing the same thing, that quarterback just has that second to step up in the pocket and find some of those check downs or dump downs over the middle. And when you've got Wyatt screaming on the inside and getting to the quarterback right away, it just really narrows your escape lanes and makes it really, really difficult. I think he can be a big time impact player in this game if he's healthy enough and if he's close enough to 100%. But I talk about it all the time. Just because a player is in the game does not mean that they're 100%. And when they've been on the injury report and they've been limited in practice, that can certainly affect them as well. So it's not just that Wyatt's in the game. We're going to have to kind of keep an eye on just how effective he is in this game as well. But hopefully he can have a big impact against that Steelers offensive line. Bears still suck. Love it, Austin. Thanks for being here. Ray, thank you for being here as well. Austin, I agree. Should be a very epic game. Predicting it now, the turnover brigade begins tonight. Ian, it does feel like they are due for a 2 or 3, interception or turnover game on the good side, on the plus side for them. I would love that to be the case. I really, really would. Now, that also means Green Bay needs to take care of the football on their side. Can't have fumbles, can't have, interceptions or anything like that. But if Green Bay could get some interceptions, force fumbles, it feels like they're so due for a forced fumble. I mean, I don't think they have an official forced fumble yet, right? There was the one that was close last week, but then it got called back. I don't think they have an official forced fumble on the season, and we're well into the season at this point. And they're clearly emphasizing it. They're clearly going after it. It seems like at some point you have to have one bounce your way. And again, interceptions, it feels like they should have more than what they have already as well. So Ian, I hope that like heck that you are right in this one. Austin, I would take 2 picks. That's for sure. I know, and and we all know that Aaron is very risk averse and takes great care of the football. I know he had 2 picks a week ago, but he's a tough player to get interceptions off of. Maybe we can get a couple of those classic Aaron Rodgers interceptions where it's a clear and obvious accurate pass over the middle and bounces off of the receiver or tight end's hands and goes just easily in the hands of the defender. That's a lot of what Aaron's interceptions were in Green Bay, were usually not always his fault. And it's funny because in his time in Green Bay, when he would throw a bad pass, a lot of times it felt like those ones would get dropped. But I'll take a deflection interception. Sign me up for that all day, every day. Atlanta better hope Penix is back soon. Brett, this is why you don't trade away your first round pick for the following year, is you don't know what's going to happen. And I think Penix will be back sooner rather than later. Talk about a Jekyll and Hyde team too for them. man, they look really good some weeks where Bijan Robinson and that offense just looks unstoppable. And other times they look completely inept. Now, understandable more today with Penix out and Drake London out and just kind of beat up across the board. But they looked completely inept in that game today and couldn't get anything going. But they've got an interesting schedule left the remainder of the way. And they, again, traded away their first round pick for next year. So that's going to be a big thing to kind of keep an eye on for them the remainder of this season. Who gets the most snaps tonight? Watson, Savion, or Heath? My guess of those three, it'll be Heath, because again, you're going to get Golden and Dobbs getting the primary share. And then you probably got somewhere around like 50, 60 snaps, I think, to play with, probably outside of that with no Wicks. So I would say, and we could see a lot of 2 tight end sets as well, but I bet Heath just barely beats out Watson, and I bet Savion gets a handful in this game. We could see Melton as well get a couple here and there too, which they've been shown to do, but I'll guess Heath just barely beats out Watson in this one. Looks like Dak peaked versus the Packers a few weeks ago. Unfortunately, Dak may have peaked against the Packers. I know Flacco actually played really well against Pittsburgh. He probably played better against Pittsburgh than against Green Bay, but he had a great game. Jacoby Brissett may have peaked against Green Bay as well. I'm done with quarterbacks peaking against Green Bay. I need this defense to tighten up a little bit, and these corners and defensive backs and just this team in general to play a little bit better so that these quarterbacks are not getting the crazy, quarterback ratings that they have had over the stretch of these last few games. Early in the season, it was good. Flacco struggled in the first game, and then Goff and why can't I think of the Commanders quarterback, Jane Daniels? He also couldn't get anything going, but these last few weeks, it's been a totally different game. We'll see what Aaron Rodgers can do today against this defense. Hopefully not much, and hopefully this Packers defense is up to the task. Golden is playing. Let's see. My buddy is a Cowboys fan. All I can say is yikes. Yeah, it's been a tough performance. They just don't have a defense. They traded away their defense to Green Bay. They don't have any other defense. Their corners were ball hawk, and I know that they've been banged up at corner as well, but their corners are ball hawking corners that were able to be ball hawking corners because of Micah Parsons. They don't have a Micah Parsons. They don't have the makings of a solid defense. I just love Jerry Jones's comment of like, we know that, Matt Eberflus is going to be able to scheme up pressure. We're not worried about getting pressures. Matt Eberflus is going to be able to scheme up pressure. All right, Jerry, how's that going for you after another 44-point performance allowed? You've already signed Jadeveon Clowney to try to help you, mitigate the Micah Parsons loss. Now you're trying to get another big time defensive end, maybe. And thankfully you didn't, but maybe you just could have stuck with the second best edge rusher in all of football. All apologies to Micah, but I'm sorry. Myles Garrett had another 5 sacks today. So Myles Garrett's still 1A on my list, but Micah Parsons 1B right behind him in my list of edge rushers at the moment. I live in Pittsburgh. The hotels in the whole Pittsburgh prices are inflated like crazy for this game. I'm sensing a Packers takeover. Trav makes beats. That would be awesome. I'm sure there's going to be a Packers presence. I still feel like this one's going to be 70-30, 75-25 in favor of Pittsburgh. But man, I would love to be wrong. And hopefully there's a ton of Packers fans at this game. Anthony Belton is active. I would be surprised, barring injury, if we saw him actually in the game at all. But he is active for the game, yes. Brinson has been so much better than Stackhouse. Why do they keep playing Stackhouse over him? It's a great question, Devian. This is a pure body type, playing type sort of thing. Brinson is a true 3 technique, which is what Carl Brooks and Devontae Wyatt both are. And even Colby Wooden can still play a little bit of that. And they've even kicked like Baron Sorrell, obviously LVN when he's healthy as well, into that spot. They don't really need another 3 technique active on game days. Stackhouse gives them a 330-pounder, a nose tackle, somebody that can hold up against the run, at least theoretically, a little bit better. We saw when both Stackhouse and Brinson were active together, they clearly played Brinson more. They liked him more. They put him on the field more. They gave him more opportunities. But the big thing here is that, again, it's just a different body type, and you really don't need another 3 technique in Brinson active. And the other thing too is, remember, Brinson was questionable. He got added to the injury report on Friday as questionable. His health could have been factored into that decision as well. It's possible he wasn't able to go in this game. If he was, maybe they all would have been active. But we just don't know the answer to that at this point. But that's, I think, the former part of, again, just talking about having a nose tackle rather than another 3 technique is why Stackhouse has been active and not Brinson in a game like this. Andy, that was a very good podcast you had on earlier. I'm not sure which one you were listening to. I'm assuming the pregame show. But either way, Ray, I really, really appreciate that. And thanks so much for the kind words and thanks for being here. Am I worried about the tight ends for the Steelers? Yes and no. They don't have a tight end to me. I know Freiermuth just went off a week ago, but they don't have like a Trey McBride that I'm just like, oh my God, how is Green Bay going to match up with that tight end? But Green Bay has given up a ton of yards and touchdowns to tight ends all season long. It's an obvious answer to some of the zone defenses that Green Bay is playing. And Pittsburgh uses a lot of tight ends and they like to utilize them quite a bit. So it's not that I'm, again, super concerned that there's a tight end that we're going to, have trouble stopping in general, but I do struggle with their trio of tight ends. And I think that could be an issue in this game. I'm hoping they can be a little bit better against tight ends than they have been so far this season. And it's National Tight Ends Day too. So you got to figure that into things. Get Josh Jacobs going. That was 1A on my list today. And my keys to the game, Austin, is I think the run game in this one for both teams is going to be paramount to success. I know all the eyes are going to be on Jordan and Aaron, and everyone wants an old gunslinger duel in this one. But to me, the team that runs the ball better is going to be much better off than the team that's maybe struggling to run the ball. If they both struggle to run the ball, all right, then we're in maybe for a old-fashioned gunfight between two old-fashioned gunslingers. But we'll kind of see what this brings, and I think the run game is going to play a huge part in this game overall. I hope the Packers corners are up their play tonight. Matthew, you and me both. Will the legend of 27 continue today? It would be pretty crazy if the Packers won and had 27 points. That'd be pretty wild, to say the least. Any concerns on the field since the University of Pitt played there yesterday? Yeah, it looks like crap. Looks like absolute crap. I don't know if you saw the pictures. I think it was from Domovsky who posted them, but it did not look good at all. So yes, definitely some concerns about that field, and NFL's got to get this stuff under control. Like, we were complaining today. My son had a soccer game in Madison, and they're playing in the top league in Wisconsin. And they played on kind of a crappy field today in Verona, which is right near Madison. And we were complaining. It's like, you're playing in the top soccer league in Wisconsin and Minnesota combined, and you can't play. This is our second time playing in Madison, 2 different fields, and both of them were complete crappy fields. And it's like, how can that happen? You don't have a soccer field in Madison that can house like a good field with, to have this game on. The fact that it's happening at an NFL level is beyond absurd. The fact that you can have a game at Soldier Field or in Pittsburgh where the field is just complete garbage. How is that possibly a thing? How is that remotely in the realm of possibility when the NFL is getting $1 trillion, gazillion, badillion dollars every single year? And you're supposed to be about player safety, and you can't have a good field. Like, it's bullshit. It's absolute crap. Like, you should never have to have that happen. So super frustrating. And like I said, the NFL has got to be better in that regard. How involved do you think Watson's going to be? Again, somewhere between 15 and 25 snaps would be my guess. And I bet they get him, 2 to 3 targets in this game. I think he'll be somebody that they try to get involved when he is in there and utilize his skill set. But I don't think they're going to oversaturate him in this game. I think they'll let him get some of that rust shaken off and just get some of that trust in the knee a little bit and kind of go from there, and then see how he responds to it this week. And then hopefully maybe even step it up a little bit against Carolina this upcoming Sunday in Green Bay, where you can trust the field conditions a little bit more. Since it's National Tight Ends Day, maybe Musgrave can finally get more than 1 catch for 6 yards. Listen, I'll just take a big Tucker Kraft game, but if Musgrave wants to get in on the action and have a huge game as well, I would certainly be all for that and would not be too disappointed in that whatsoever. Hey, thanks for being here. Appreciate you, my friend. Was up to you as well. Andy, did you catch McCarthy on with Crosby talking about Rodgers and the Packers and whatnot? I did not. I should go back and listen to that, but no, I haven't had a chance to. I didn't see that, quite frankly. So I'll have to go check that out. Any players of the game will be who tonight? Kraft. I bet Jordan Love. I'm going to say Jordan Love. Now, I'm not going to shy away from it. I picked Pittsburgh in this one. I hope I'm wrong. I know one person, at least in the comments, was very upset with me that I, as a Packers fan and a Packers podcast, would pick Pittsburgh. I'm so sorry. I think it would be a lot more lame if just every single week I just pick Green Bay every single time. I think that would be a lot more lame. I think I should get a lot more crap if I just pick the Packers every single time. Green Bay has every right to go in and win this game. They're favored in this game. I think there's some things that Pittsburgh poses that I think are concerning. Packers enter as 2.5 point favorites in this one. But it should be a really fun game, and I hope I'm wrong, and hope you guys can all make fun of me for it after the game. Like, that'd be great. I would love to be wrong. Just like I love to be wrong about, Micah Parsons probably not being a Green Bay Packer. That was an awesome one to be wrong on. Those are the fun things to be wrong on. I will gladly be wrong today, but I do think Jordan Love has a big game in this one, and it would be sweet if Jordan Love could be the player of the game going against Aaron Rodgers in his one-on-one matchup with his former mentor at quarterback. Thanks for doing these, Andy. Do you know why we struggle with tight ends? Feels like a lot of our guys, Bullard, both safeties, athletic linebackers, and Coop and Quay, not to mention the corners, should all match up well. Green Bay plays a ton of zone, which is the right defense for this specific group of players. I think Jeff Hafley does a really good job with his zone defenses. And I think this team, for the most part, although it's been more of a struggle lately, does pretty well in zone coverage. When you're in zone coverage, your safety valve and a lot of these are tight ends just finding little spots in those zones, sitting down underneath and picking up some of those plays. The big thing against McBride was just a couple of blown coverages and, not marking up on Trey McBride in that situation. I think they can be totally fine against tight ends. I don't think it's something that is, you're not seeing tight ends go for like 6 catches, 130 and 2 touchdowns or something like that. But I just think in general, when you're going to play this style of defenses, tight ends have the ability to get a lot of those checkdowns and just kind of plays over the middle of the field, which is, I think, why you're seeing a lot of these big catch numbers with kind of lesser receiving yardage behind them. I think that's been kind of the bigger issue. And again, I think it just is kind of a bug of the certain defense that they play more often than not. But can they be tighter? Yes. Should they be? Hopefully, yes. But we're gonna have to kind of see how that goes today against a team, again, that likes to play a lot of tight ends, including a lot of 3 tight end sets. So be aware of it today for sure. Excuse me. We need to play through Josh Jacobs this game. I totally agree, Sean. It was certainly on my to-do list as well in our key takeaways for today's game. Ooh, Bucks not doing well. Down 16. Get it together, Milwaukee. That's a tough game in Cleveland, though, with a few injuries to not help things. Austin, you're the best as well. Thank you, my friend. Maybe a heavy 2 tight end game. Could be for both teams. Excuse me. We could see a lot of 2 tight end sets for Green Bay, like I think we're mentioning here as well, Roberto. Is Valentine going to be starting today? My guess is it's going to be Hobbs, but I haven't seen anything yet. I'll see if there's been any news about the starting corners or anything. There was a tweet that says there's enough Packers fans here for an audible "Go Pack Go" chant as some of the Packers special teamers take the field. That's a good sign. Yeah, I haven't seen anything about, any specific lineups or anything like that yet. So if anything comes along, I will definitely keep you guys posted. Or maybe you guys keep me posted, since I can't really keep an eye on my phone as well. But keep me posted if you guys see anything from some of the beat guys that are there. All right, maybe a heavy 2 tight end game. Finally, a Musgrave sighting tonight. Maybe biggest game tonight. Go Pack Go. Well, it's the only game tonight, Chelios. Or are you talking about the Packers' biggest game tonight? I don't think I'd actually put this. It's the biggest storyline game. But I think the Lions game on Thanksgiving is a bigger game. I would argue the Eagles game is probably a little bit of a bigger game, but it's certainly in the conversation. And if you want to put Steelers as 1A on that list, I'm certainly not going to argue it. I think it's a fair one to put in that conversation for sure. Thank you for that, Austin. Definitely make sure to like that. If you haven't subscribed yet, there's 631 of you in here. I'm sure there's at least a handful that are not subscribers to Pack-A-Day yet. Just really quick, hit that subscribe button as well. That helps the channel a ton. Plus, you get notified. Like, if you want to hit the notifications as well, there's a lot of times where there's, multiple videos coming out a day. Don't always trust the algorithm. Make sure that you turn those notifications on so that you are specifically notified every single time that a new video comes out here on our channel. What's the number one thing we need to get done tonight to win? Run the football successfully, run it efficiently. If Green Bay runs the ball efficiently in this game, I love their chances to win this game. So, we can always talk turnovers, explosive plays, third down conversion rate. Those are always great tells, but outside of the obvious ones, I really want to see Green Bay run the football efficiently and effectively in this one. The entire NFC, help me, Green Bay. You're my only hope. Yeah, basically at this point. Don't turn the ball over and we win. That would be a good start as well. Again, that's usually 1A on the chalkboard every single week, but it's still true. No question about it. Hey, Andy, anxiety and excitement are growing exponentially here. To face Rodgers is actually hitting different. I totally get it, my friend. Those are, I don't know that I've ever been quite as emotional. I was in the first Favre game in Minneapolis when the Packers took on the Vikings for the very first Favre game. I was in the second one in Green Bay when Favre came to Green Bay. And then I was in the next one when he came to Green Bay. I was not in the final one that was in Minneapolis. So I was at 3 of the 4 Favre Vikings games. And yes, they very much hit differently. And it's a wild ride. So I totally get it. This one feels a little bit different for me because this feels like if we would have faced Favre when he was a Jet, not Favre when he was a Viking. To me, that totally changes the calculus on that entire situation. And I think because he's not playing for the Vikings or the Bears or the Lions or the Cowboys or something like that, it's an AFC team. It's the Steelers. It's a respectable franchise. He's doing well. Again, he's an all-time Packers legend. I think that hits a little bit different, but it's still Aaron Rodgers going against your team, and that still feels very, very weird. So I totally get it, Tulio. Ravens corner Jair Alexander was a healthy scratch. If he gets cut, I think he would be a nice fit on the Packers. Almighty Supreme One, I will be stunned if the Packers pick up Jair Alexander. Just beyond stunned. And nor do I honestly even think that you should want him at this point. It's just not a good situation. There's like the Ravens were extremely excited to get him, wanted him to be a starting corner, paid him what, $5 million or something, and they don't want him active. It should be incredibly telling. Green Bay was ready to get rid of him. They were holding out hope somebody was going to do something stupid and give them something as soon as they found it out, which is why I was on the 0.01%. And a lot of people hated me for that. It was never going to happen. I would put it at less than 0.01%, that even if he was cut, that the Packers would go back and bring Jair Alexander back to the team. I think that ship is beyond sailed, and I would be stunned if he was ever a Green Bay Packer in an active game. If he signs the one-day contract with Green Bay at the end or something like that, sure. But anything besides that, I'd be pretty shocked. Who is the sheep that Jay Love can go after? Honestly, Daryl, I don't mean this to be anything towards anyone at all. Their entire secondary you can attack. Now, Jalen Ramsey you have to be careful with. Darius Slay is a notorious Packers killer, but he's not had a great year. But their secondary has been completely susceptible to big plays and a lot of passing yards. So you're not really worried about anything other than, again, they take the ball away. So if you give them a chance, they're going to take it away. And Jalen Ramsey's probably the one that you always have to be a little bit cognizant of no matter what. All right, we're at 623 on the chats. Let me get to some of these super chats really quick. All right, my balls itch. Always love you, my friend. I hope the number 1 on the Packers introduces himself to Rodgers and then meets him again and again and again. You think he could beat Myles Garrett's 5 sacks today? Think he could get 6 just to say, hey, I can one-up you, Myles Garrett? I don't know if he can, but I would certainly be for it if he could. Rodgers gets rid of the ball so freaking fast. I think that's probably an impossibility, but I would love Micah to as well introduce himself a few different times through the course of today's game. Slim, thank you for the super chat as well. Game will come down to which quarterback doesn't hold the ball too long. I don't know if I totally agree with that. I mean, we know that Aaron's going to get rid of the ball really quick, and we know that Jordan's going to hang on to it a little bit longer and look for some of those plays down the field. I still want Jordan hunting for some of those plays down the field. And I think if you limit Aaron to just check down, and he can't hit some of those plays down the field to Calvin Austin and DK Metcalf, I think that limits Pittsburgh's offense as well. So I don't know if I fully agree, but you have to be cognizant of when you're holding on to the football. There's a time and a place, and you've got to be careful with Micah Parsons on one side, TJ Watt on the other. And if you're holding it too long and it's consistently an issue, then yeah, it could be a huge problem. So I think there's a balance there that you have to strike, which is kind of a constant conversation with Jordan of, we want you taking those shots down the field and we want you to be able to make those plays, but there's a time and a place. And I think that conversation is going to be paramount today to see if you can kind of walk that line of, hey, let your playmakers do the heavy lifting, get the ball to your hands and see what they can do after the catch. And hey, let's take a couple shots down the field when the time is right. And maybe you're in a max protect and you have the opportunity to get Watson, Golden, etc. down the field for some of those big plays, maybe in a cover 1 situation. So I think there's a balance there, but it's certainly going to be worth keeping an eye on today. All right. Let's really quick get to our sleeper picks for today's game. We actually get to do it for a Packer game, which is really, really fun. I kept it super simple. Josh Jacobs touchdown, more than 0.5 touchdowns in this game. So basically, again, 1 Josh Jacobs touchdown. Aaron Rodgers, more than 215.5 yards. We've seen this Packers defense give up a lot of passing yards and quick, short passing stuff. Aaron is the best at that, basically, of getting the ball out of his hands and letting his receivers do the heavy lifting. So Aaron Rodgers, more than 215.5 passing yards. Josh Jacobs, more than a half touchdown. Over on Sleeper, of course, the best part, you can get 100% match up to $100 by utilizing code PACKADAY. Again, 100% match up to $100 by utilizing code PACKADAY. Also, you can get a $20 entry with no deposit required right now. So again, check that out over on Sleeper. Terms and conditions are in order for all of those promotions. So check those out over on Sleeper. Of course, they are available in over 25 states. Ton of fun. Make sure to check it out when you have the chance. And a huge thank you to Sleeper for partnering with us on today's show. All right, let's get back to this. What time did I say we were at? Let's see. I think we're at 6:23, I think I said. Do we have the corners to make a deep run? Well, Scott, that depends. Is it the corners that played the first 3 weeks and looked really good? Or is it the corners that played the last 3 weeks and looked really, really, really bad? I don't think you can make a deep run with these corners playing the way that they did the last 3 weeks. I think you can absolutely make a deep run with the way that they played the first 3 weeks. So I just think that these three corners, Valentine, Hobbs, and Nixon, need to play better. And you've got to get them playing at a level that you feel comfortable with. And I think it is a marriage of scheme and what you can get from those corners. I think it's the weak part of the defense. I think the offensive line has been the weak part of the offense. And I think the rest of the season is going to be getting those corners to play at the level that you need them to make that run in the playoffs and get that offensive line, specifically from a run blocking standpoint, playing at the level that you need them to be successful in the playoffs on offense. I think if you are as shaky on the offensive line, and a lot of it was due to injuries earlier in the season, they've been a little bit better as of late. But I think if the offensive line is inconsistent and your corners are inconsistent, trying to make a 3 or 4 game playoff run and win a Super Bowl is exceedingly difficult. Everything else almost needs to be perfect in order to make up for that. So as of right now, I think it's TBD. I think the talent is overall there, even if it's on thin ice / shaky, but they have to play way better than they did these past 3 weeks for sure. I think we need to funnel the offense through Kraft, Golden, Watson, Reed, and Dobbs and sprinkle in some power Josh Jacobs runs. I think the lulls occur in the offense due overthinking on some drives. Well, it's a lot of pieces to run through Kraft, Golden, Watson, Reed, and Dobbs. I don't know that there's too many other players that this offense is really running through. I also still think Josh Jacobs needs to be a pretty big focal point. But again, the run blocking needs to be better. Do I think that Matt overthinks it sometimes? Yes. Do I think sometimes it can be simplified? Yes. But I do love what Matt puts into it. He does his homework. He dots his I's and crosses his T's. He's looking for those matchup situations that he can exploit and looking for those little advantages. And I think overall that stuff is very positive. Again, they've had one game where they've scored under 27 points. That's good offensive efficiency overall. I know in the scheme of things, sometimes it feels like it's a little bit clunky and doesn't always get to where it needs to go at the desired level. But, you know, in every single game but one, putting up 27 points or more is still pretty dang good at this point in time. Do I think it can get better? Yes, but I just think they have to find that right formula, which is maybe the better way to put it, Sean. Brian, thank you for being here. First offensive play should be the same play that 9 dropped from Rodgers versus the Vikings in his first game, 75 yards to the bank. Yes, but remember when he dropped that pass, it felt like it set up the whole remainder of the game. So I don't know if I'm willing to risk the entire game on that one play, but it would be fun to see them hit on that play. That's for sure. Marina, you're more than welcome. Thanks for being here. Free Jacobs, Kraft, and Golden in that order. Go Pack Go, or feed, I should say, Jacobs, Kraft, and Golden. Yeah, I still think Watson, as he gets healthier, Dobbs, and certainly Reed, as he gets healthy as well, need to be a huge piece of this. But I think, again, finding that right formula for this offense and how they can mix and match the right pieces in is going to be very important. I go back to some of their best games. When they put up 40 against Dallas, or when they had that awesome playoff game against Dallas, were you concerned about who was getting the ball? No, because everyone was eating for the most part, and the offense was super efficient. I don't really care who's getting the ball if the offense is efficient the way that it needs to be. And to me, that's the bigger thing right now. And yes, I think there's better ways that you can do that by utilizing some of the playmakers that you have on your team. And sometimes it's players over plays. But to me, when the offense is doing their job and executing the way that they can, it becomes a non-issue. It becomes a non-factor. And none of us care when they're in that 34 plus point range of who actually got the ball or not, unless you're just looking at it from fantasy purposes. So be efficient, then everyone eats and everyone's happy and everyone's satisfied. And then it looks really good from pretty much everyone's standpoint. So I think they're like a touchdown shy every single game. They're at like 27 points. If that all of a sudden bumps up to 34, like one more drive results in a touchdown, I think everything starts feeling like, oh my God, like everything's amazing on this offense. But they're just that one drive shy right now is what it kind of feels like. The Steelers uniforms look even worse on TV. The uniform matchup is malpractice. This is like the classic overthinking it. It feels like they should have had the most perfect matchup. The classic Steelers versus the Packers, the classic Packers. It felt perfect. It got overthought by, I think, everyone in this situation, which is frustrating, but oh well, it's still going to be a fun game. I ultimately don't care all that much about jersey matchups. It was a hip injury for Golden, but thankfully he's good to go for this game, and hopefully he's at or near 100%. Wyatt is playing. Hopefully Kraft does cook on National Tight Ends Day. You know he's going to want to, that's for sure. Let's see. The Bears can celebrate drafting another running quarterback in the first round in another year or two. We'll see. I still think there's hope for, Caleb Williams, but today was definitely a tough game for him. Sorry, I'm late, Andy. Adam, come on, my friend. Step your game up. You didn't answer. If you didn't answer already, what is your prediction for the game tonight? I did talk about it on the pregame show today. I've got the Steelers by 1 point. Again, I know some people are upset by that, but I think it's going to be a really tough game, really entertaining game. I think it could go either way. And the good news is that whether I'm predicting a Packers win or a Packers loss, I have no idea. If I did, I'd be betting on it in Vegas every single week, and I'm not. So I don't know, what ultimately is going to happen, but I have the Steelers as a slight 1 point win in this one. And like I said, very much hope I'm wrong and hope you can all rub it in my face in the live post-game show immediately following today's game. Do I think Coop will have a good game? Yeah, he usually does. I just think a little bit more attention to detail for Coop. Had a couple plays where he was just a little bit off his assignment this past game. But I think he'll step back up this game, have a big one, and wouldn't be surprising to see him utilized in a little bit more of a blitzing role and a little bit more of an attacking role in today's game. The rest of our schedule really isn't as bad as others, at least 8 more wins. Trill, I hope you are right, my friend. I think there's going to be some tough ones in there. That Baltimore game, I still know is going to be tough once they've got Lamar back. They're going to be cooking and they're going to need wins at the end of the year. So that's going to be tough. Denver game in Denver, I think is going to be really tough. Detroit in Detroit, those 3, and then Philly game. I think those 4 are going to be really, really tough games. Now the other ones are manageable, but I think those 4 are going to be really, really tough. Yeah, tough game today for the Cowboys, Andrew, for sure. Amari, go Pack Go to you as well. Thanks for being here. Just started up my own sports podcast for a school project. What tips would you give as someone who is solo podcasting often? You did the biggest thing, my friend, is just starting it. You got to start somewhere and you just kind of got to get after it. If you go look at my very first podcast, whether audio or video, it's ridiculously bad. Just from I had no lighting. I had no microphone. I had no HD camera. I was on a laptop using the laptop microphone and the laptop camera. There was no backdrop behind me. It was just a gray wall, and everyone made fun of me because they thought I was podcasting from prison. So you got to start somewhere, and then you make small upgrades over time. And then the only other piece of advice I would give you is, 2 things. A, you got to be passionate about it, whatever it is you're doing. If you're not passionate and it doesn't come through in your voice, nobody's going to care what you're saying. And then the second thing is, if you're doing a sports podcast, right? Like a sports podcast is a very vague thing. It's a very wide range of things, right? You have to have some sort of niche. What makes yours different? What makes yours stand out? When I first started covering the Packers, it was me watching every single player and every single play and doing the grades that was different than anyone else. It was something that, PFF had the grades, of course, but we don't even know the person that's doing the grades for PFF, right? You had a face that was doing the grades and watching every player and every single play every single week. It was my, niche. It was my gateway into being an expert on something. And then from there, you can kind of branch out after that. So find your voice, start it off, be passionate about it, and find what your niche is going to be on that particular podcast, and then kind of branch out from there. Those would be my best pieces of advice for you or anyone else that wants to start a podcast out there. Bucks cut it to 3. Look at that. Minute 40 left in the third. Bears still suck. Love to see it. You absolutely love to see it. You got to throw on your good lucky Packers hoodie, bro. Yeah, I did think about that. I'll be honest. I drove. We had 2 soccer games this week. Soccer game yesterday in Appleton, and then today I had to drive all the way I got up early, drove all the way to Madison. Soccer game, drove all the way back. I got home and I immediately took a nap. and I basically woke up and popped on the pregame show. So I am still a little bit exhausted, and whatever I had on at the time, I did make sure to throw the Packers hat on. But other than that, I could have been in pajamas and I wasn't changing at that point in time. So this is what you get. You get a nice cream colored sweatshirt and a Packers hat. And right now I'm very thankful that I even have that going for me because I was very, very tired heading into this show. I'm not going to lie, but nothing better to wake me up than talking Packers. That's for sure. We need to send a lot of design blitzes with Adrian Cooper, Quay, and maybe Javon Bullard. It's one of those things. Brian Kelly dismissed from LSU. Wow. That's an interesting move, but it's one of those things that you got to be careful because the Packers have struggled with those short passes, right? And all of a sudden you send blitzers and Rodgers still getting the ball out of his hands. And it's like you sent blitzers for nothing. Now you just have less people covering and the blitz didn't get home anyway. And now you have more opportunities for run after the catch because your linebackers blitzed instead of staying back and rallied to the football. So you got to be a little bit careful with it, but there's a time and place for it for sure. And I do think they need to use Adrian Cooper and Quay Walker to attack at different phases of this game for sure. I'm scared Rodgers is going to go for 400 plus yards, plus 4 touchdowns tonight. I've seen this man do ungodly things with a football. Hopefully he doesn't. That's for sure. But we know what he's capable of. That's also for sure. Happy to see our divisional rivals taking L's this week. Let's keep up our lead and spank old man Rodgers. That's the goal in this one, is to pick up the win and stay on top of the NFC North and on top of the NFC. It would be a great week to do so. Yeah, Ray, I appreciate you bringing this up. Pretty devastating. And I saw that today. I was pretty shook up by it. And it doesn't matter his age or my age. That's not the story here. But there is something when, I'm 41 years old. Nick Mangold was 41 years old. And when you hear of something like that and it's your say, it just hits a little bit different of like, you think everything's just going great and that you're invincible and nothing can happen. And you see something like that. And it just kind of brings you crashing down to earth and being like, man, anything can happen at any given moment. Thoughts and prayers to him and his family and the New York Jets family. That stuff just shouldn't happen. It sucks beyond everything. I feel so bad for him. What an unbelievable center. What an unbelievable career that he had. It's one of those things. I saw his post on Twitter that he needs a kidney transplant. And you see something like that. And you just immediately think, well, clearly somebody's, that he knows or somebody is going to give him a kidney. Like these things happen. Right. And then you saw it today and it just stabs you right in the heart. So yeah, definitely thoughts and prayers to him. And just again, a reminder of how fragile everything is in life. Hug your friends, hug your family, give them a call, tell them you love them, because again, everything is very, very short and can change in a blink of an eye. And certainly that was a very harsh and stark reminder of that today. So again, one more time, thoughts out to him and his family. Let's go, boys. How confident do you feel for this game? I'm confident it's going to be a really good game. I think this could be Steelers. I think this could be Packers, but I think overall this is going to be a really, really good one. I have the Steelers by a point in this one, but don't feel confident about that either. I just think it's going to be a very entertaining and close football game that comes down to the wire. Most definitely, Ray. So shocking and sad seeing how it affected Rex Ryan was very sad. I didn't see that. I'm probably happy I didn't see that, but I can only imagine that those close to him are really shook up today. And again, thinking of all who knew him very, very close, again, friends and family members. Reynaldo, go Pack Go. Thanks for being here. Salt Lake City in the house. Love that. And you're more than welcome. Thanks for supporting it, Michael. Appreciate you a ton. Watson to score a touchdown this season before Golden State. Score a touchdown before Golden State. I don't know what that means, Adam CFC. Golden State doesn't score touchdowns, so I'm confused. But the Golden State's off to a great start. I love what they're doing. I've loved this NBA season so far, outside of the huge gambling scandal. Outside of that, it's been freaking awesome. Bucks down by 2 going into the fourth quarter. Maybe we can get a Bucks and a Packers win tonight. Oh, you're right. Gary did force one last week. You're right. My apologies. I was thinking it was a pick last week. You're right. It was a forced fumble. So they did have one. You're totally right. Been waiting all day for Sunday night. Me as well, Austin. Yeah, they got to figure out a way. I mean, he stays on one side, so you know where he's going to be. Zach Tom's going to get him, and you're probably going to give some help there as well. I'm telling you right now, I'm actually a little bit more nervous for Nick Herbig versus Rasheed Walker in this game, but you got to be very cognizant of TJ Watt as well. No question about it. Oh, before Golden, that makes more sense. Could be. That's an interesting one. When you say Golden State, I'm like, what does that mean? But yes, you could see a Watson touchdown before Golden at this point, which would be kind of crazy. And yes, Tulio, you are correct as well. Gary did have one. I know we did. My bad. That's on me. No word on Marshawn Lloyd as of yet. Yeah, they do have some very ugly uniforms. I haven't seen them yet. I've been working with you guys here, but I'm sure that they're pretty ugly looking. Game starts at 7:20, everyone. So we've got about 11 minutes till kick. We got about 5 more minutes here before I sign off. Let's go, Andy. I'm excited to see the Packers on Sunday Night Football. Let's play great football in front of the world. Be perfect. They've shown up for their primetime games. I know one of them was a tie, but they put up 40 in that game. So this should be a fun one. I'm really looking forward to it. I have some friends from the Green Bay area who are at the game. Love that, Brett. Hopefully they can help us take home a big W in Pittsburgh today. We can make history today and beat the Steelers for the first time since 1970 in Pittsburgh. Yeah, it's crazy that it's been that long. They are overdue, to say the least. Really hoping to see training camp aggressive Hobbs tonight would make a huge difference. I'm telling you guys, he was really good in camp. He was really good. He fit in perfectly in the defense. He can play better than what he's played so far, and hopefully we start seeing that tonight. Yes, field does look terrible. Yeah, it does feel weird still seeing him in any different helmet. Yep, ball control, running the football is huge. Zone coverage is the right way to go for this defense, for sure, for Green Bay. It's what they're best at. You don't even want to play a ton of man in the current NFL anymore. Too many man beaters, too many ways to get beat. You can use it as a change of pace, but zone's almost like the fastball right now, and man coverage is kind of like your changeup or your curveball. Since dink and dunk seems to be the Pack's kryptonite, are there scheme differences that can help that compress the field for the defense? Yeah, I mean, Dragon Scale, it's all what you want to make, like what you want to take away. I mean, what Green Bay's doing is very popular around the league. They're not the only team that's doing this. It's a check down league right now. Teams are allowing a lot of those easy completions. And so, yeah, if you want to come up and play those more aggressively, you can. You're just going to have to. You basically have 3 things, right? It's not quite this simple. But do you want to stop the deep passing game, the short passing game, or the run game? You can kind of like stop 2 of the 3. And you kind of have to choose what your weakness is in any given moment. And you certainly don't want to allow the deep passing game, and you don't want the run game to be consistently going either. So some of the checkdowns and stuff, the underneath stuff where you can rally to the football, is what you ultimately decide to allow. And like I said, that's very in vogue throughout the league. If you want to stop that, you can. Just which of the others do you want to be susceptible to? Because you can come and play up aggressive and keep 2 safeties over the top. You're stopping the deep pass game. You're stopping the short pass game, but now you're very susceptible against the run. You could press man, and you could keep that extra safety in the box, stop the run with 1 safety over the top. Now you're susceptible to the deep passing game on the outside. So it's just a ever-evolving Rubik's Cube of what do you want to take away? What do you want to have as your weakness, and how do you want to play each down and distance? And which of those 3 things are you kind of willing to be susceptible to? That's just the ever evolving, like I said, game of cat and mouse that you're playing with the opposing offensive coordinator. So yes, there's absolutely ways that you can go about stopping it, but it's usually going to leave something else. If there was a defense that was great against the run, the quick passing game, and the deep passing game, everyone would be running the exact same thing every single play. There just isn't. So you just got to pick and choose what things are ultimately most important to you as a defensive coordinator on the given play that you have at hand. Steelers fan here. Tyler, thanks for the good luck. Enjoy the game, my friend. Should be a really fun one. And you guys are obviously off to a pretty good start this season. Top of the AFC North, although Ravens get the win over Chicago today. Good for Green Bay, bad for Pittsburgh. You don't want to see Baltimore start making up the distance there. So it's a big one for you guys as well. Should be a really fun game overall. I will ban that chat bot there. 8 is good at covering up both coverages. Yes, he is. I'm more curious as to why the NFLPA hasn't brought up the field conditions as much as you'd think they would. MetLife is the ACL killer, and it's so widely known. You just got to figure out something. There has to be more consistency there. No question about it. Yeah, that's been the consensus so far, Gary. Hey, listen, Austin, that's Tom's brand though, which is awesome, by the way. I wouldn't want Tom to change that for 1 single second. Like, that's just a different, and then what I will always say, like, if I tried to be Tom Grossi, I'm just going to be a way worse version of Tom Grossi. And if I try to be Aaron Nagler, I'm just going to be a way worse version of Aaron Nagler, right? So I just got to do things the way that I do it, and hopefully you guys like it. And if not, I'm still just going to talk into the void no matter what anyway. But appreciate you guys for being here and enjoying this pregame show. Again, make sure to check out the postgame show after as well. Hope the offensive line will hold up to the Steelers' defensive front, not another Cleveland experience. Reggie White, thanks for being here, my friend. And I'm right there with you. Hopefully the offensive line is ready to play today. Go Pack, go. Yes, it is sometimes easier to complete those really short, quick passes underneath. It's just a part of it. That's okay. That's what you're willing to allow. And like we just talked about, you can't kind of stop everything simultaneously. I haven't checked the AI simulation, to be honest, Brian, and it felt like it wasn't really fair anymore because we did the AI simulation prior to Micah Parsons being on the team. So I haven't checked it. I don't know. Maybe somebody else can do that as a homework assignment. But yeah, I'll have to maybe go check it one of these days. You have a large internal struggle? No internal struggle, Brett. Go Pack, go. Packers win. Aaron can go on and have an MVP season the rest of the year. But tonight it's all Packers all the time, and that's what we cheer for in this one. Absolutely shout out the Grassi Posse as well. But no, go Steelers. Go Packers. The flats on defense will determine this game. Aaron is going to be getting the rock out quick to protect his rep. I don't think it's about protecting his rep. I just think that that's what's going to be there for him, and he's ultimately going to take it. All right, friends, I am going to get out of here. Thank you so much for being here. Sorry for I didn't see these chat bots quicker. My apologies. I would have blocked them all a lot sooner, but thank you all so much for being here. The absolute best coming into the live post-game show as well. I will see you guys there, but enjoy the game. And until next time, and as always, go Pack, go.